Hello, welcome to another F-Car Guy video. Today I'm going to be installing manual exhaust valve controller onto the FF. You may recall in one of my earlier videos, sort of not long after I actually got the car, I pinned the exhaust valves open, and that was a great little upgrade, which tied me over for the summer while I was using the car. But since then, I've installed a Novitec exhaust. If you haven't seen that video, go check that out now. But now that I've got that ladder exhaust, I need the ability to quieten it off and open it up when I need it. So the controller I went for was Forza. The main reason for that, so there's many controllers you can get. I went with the Forza because the Forza allows me to do two particular things that I was interested in. One is I'm not into remote control stuff. I just think that's something that will inevitably break or not work, or batteries go flat or whatever. I prefer old school, run a cable into the cabin, put the switch on. So that was the reason I got that. The other reason was because this controller has 3 modes instead of 2. Let me explain. 2 modes would be ECU controlled and always opened. This has 3 modes, which is always closed, always open, and ECU controlled. And I do want that third option because the way that Ferrari ECU controls the exhaust valves is it's very unnatural. You turn the car on, they're open for a split second, they close. You rev it, it should stay closed below 3000 RPM. However, if you give it a bit of a stab under 3000, it will open up. So it's kind of all over the place. If I want it to be quiet, I want it to be quiet all the time. There is a disclaimer in here, and rightly so, that you shouldn't have the valves always closed if you're sort of pressing on. That's just kind of common sense, really. So I won't be doing that, but there will be instances where I just want the thing closed all the time, and I'll be driving it in a manner which it will be suitable for them to be closed all the time. So that's why I got this controller. So upon opening up the box, you've got some screws which take off the end plates on both sides, and the whole controller slides out. A fairly simple instruction manual which tells you how everything works. So we've got some dip switches here. One of them allows me to select whether I want the remote controlled or hardwire control. So there's a switch because there's two valve controllers. For some reason you've got a switch for both. So I've switched both of the valves to manual control, so I'll have to run a cable for that. And then it wants to know whether you're M1 or M2. And as per the instructions, it says, are you mode 1 or mode 2? So M1, which is the most typical, M1 means is your exhaust valve open when you turn the car off. And most vacuum valves are. That's how they're set. It requires vacuum to close the valve. So that's M1, and it already shipped in the M1 state. But you just need to check that. And again, that's quite easy to do, because if you're doing the exhaust yourself, you can easily get up under there and push the valve with your hand to see whether it's opened or closed, or a quick ask on forums. But most cars are set to M1. That's already set to M1. The other option it has, which I'm not sure that any other controller has, is what state do you want the controller to be in when it fires back up? Because don't forget, these things don't have power, and again, this is why I didn't want remote. They don't have power when the car's turned off, so they get reset and they don't know what the state it was last left in. So you get to say, upon power coming back to the board, i.e. when the car's turned on, what state do you want the valves to be in? ECU controlled or always open? Me being a 10-year-old boy at heart, I've got it set to always open. But again, this is the beauty of the manual switch. And this is another reason why I want a manual switch instead of a remote, is if I want to start the car and for it to be quiet, the beauty of having this almost actually becomes irrelevant when you're using a manual switch instead of remote, because if you have a manual switch in and you've got it switched to closed, then it will just be closed. The trouble with the remote is if you wanted to start it and for it to have a loud start, you wouldn't be able to do it because you'd have to turn the car on, wait for the system to initialize, press the remote, wait for the valves to open. Having a switch just means it's always open or always closed. But it's nice to know that if you did use the remote, you have the option of saying what do you want it to be upon engine start. So yeah, again, that's why I picked the Forza. It's just way more customizable. If you want something easy, get a different one and just use the remotes. I mean, this does come with the remotes, but like I said, I won't be using those. So you get this length of cable here as well. Obviously, I'll update you as I connect it all into the car. I'm fairly sure it's just a system that kind of gets spliced into the original one. So, oh god, that just will not focus, will it? There we go. So you're essentially just tapping in, so disconnecting some factory cables and connecting in these new ones. And then all I'll have to do is get this switch connected. So there it's talking about the DPD switch, which I've actually purchased. So it's a 3-position. So I'll have it set for the middle will be ECU controlled. One will be quiet, 2 will be loud. Always closed, always open, and in the middle, ECU controlled. So by the looks of it, I have to run, yeah, we've got these cables here, black, red and green. Yeah, so green actually goes to ground on the car. So that will happen outside. These 2 run into the cabin. And then the center pole switch. Again, I'll go through this when I actually connect it, but that will then be ground. But relatively straightforward to do if you wanted to run it with a remote. You wouldn't have to run anything into the car at all. You just get up underneath the car, find somewhere suitable to mount it, connect all the cables, zip tie them up, and you're good to go. So I've got all my dip switches connected. I just need to find a suitable place to route the cable through in the car, and I'm going to go investigate that now and come back to you and update. So at the back of the car, and what we've got is these 2 lengths of cable that you get. They're quite long. I don't actually need that much length because I'll be mounting the box in the sort of cavity of the rear bumper, because having a look up in there, it's completely dry. You've got spider webs and all sorts of stuff in there, so there's obviously no water getting in there. These 2 ends go to the controller, and then here you've got a male and a female end of the same connector, and essentially and I'll show you in a second, there's 2 solenoids up in here for each controller. And there's one of those spiders. We don't want you. Sorry, buddy. So got a male and a female end. We're going to be disconnecting the cable that goes into the solenoid and plugging it into the female end, and then plugging our male end that goes to the other end of this cable from the controller into the solenoid. So it's a quick swap, just a nice little 1-for-1. So you don't have to remove the diffuser at all. If you're wondering why the car is so apart, I'm recording this at the same time as I'm doing my exhaust install video, which is a separate video. Hence why I have all this off. You don't need all this stuff off if you're just doing the controller. So, let's have a look under the car. So you have got the cover, the underbody cover, sorry, I forget what it's called. That's removed, and we've removed the rear diffuser 3 screws just so that you can move it up and down like this. And this is quite tricky to record because you have to bend the diffuser out of the way. Okay, so this is right in the middle of the rear of the car. That is the valve. I think it's like a tank, an air tank. And there's rubber valves going into it. And then either side of that, I'll just show you the one side that I'm working on. There's a, oh, you can just see it there. Can you see the solenoid? And then I've disconnected the cable. So all I have to do now is plug my male end into that female end that's dangling down. And just there, that lighter coloured one, is the male end. I'll plug my female into there. And then, oh, there we go. So there's the park distance control sensors at the back. I'm going to probably cable tie it up to that, the cable that feeds them, right up there. It's perfectly dry up there. That's where I'm going to put the module. Right, I shall do that now. I've now got the cables installed. So you can see with that cable now takes over the position of the existing one. Sorry, that one's a bit difficult to get into, but and at the moment, and you need an earth. I've just gone off the back of the, there's this a little bolt there on the oil cooler to run the earth. And as suggested in the manual, they said that you should really test it all before you mount it all up. So we'll go turn the ignition on now and make sure we get a red light. Excellent. So we've got the red light showing on there. And then what I've also done, I need to check the operation of the switch. So out the back of the box there's a red and black cable. I've soldered on a wire that will run through into the cabin, and then I've very crudely just connected the 3-position switch so that I can just test this before I commit to running the cable through the car. So we'll do that now. So here goes, fire in the hole. I'll set that to center. Oh, hang on a sec. Let me check my manual to see what always open and always closed is. Red is always closed. So let me swap those around. So position 1 should be quiet. Let's see what happens. Yes, that's definitely worked. Okay, I'm back. I forgot to find somewhere to put the earth in the middle. So now, oh yes. I'll quickly go check the other side. Go flick the switch now. Brilliant. Okay. Fantastic. Now I can put all this in the car. I will cable tie that thing up to the back and find a route through for that cable. That's brilliant. I'm actually, that's the first time I've heard the exhaust, to be honest with you, and I know this is just the install of the valve. And I will. So thank you for watching so far. If you've come this far and you're installing this yourself with a remote control, then your job's done. You can put the car back together and you're good to go. Sorry, I've actually put all the under tray and stuff back on, but essentially all I did was I cable tied the control module just behind here in this cavity. So there is where the parking sensors are, there's already a trunking of cable along here, so I just cable tied it to that because I didn't want it actually touching anything, otherwise you'd be getting knocking noises and things like that. So anyway, that's the end of the video if you're installing just with the remote control. As I said at the beginning though, I'm running a cable. So I have removed this panel here, which has the air compressor and the basic tools and things you need for simple breakdowns. You need a TX20 to remove about 6 screws. Pull that out, that's nice and easy. I did pull the side out as well because I thought I might be able to get my wires through here, but no, I couldn't find anywhere in through there. Then what my route through, you can already see the cable I've got there, is underneath this cover which goes over the petrol tank and through the back seat. So just so that you can lift this up a little bit, I remove the cargo strap downs, and they've got 2 TX30 screws that hold those in. Again, you don't have to take this entire thing out, it just allows you to lift it up enough to wrap a cable around there. And then here in the back seats, you'd start with 2 TX30 screws, which are down the bottom here. And that allows you to remove this section, the base section of the seat. It just lifts up and then out toward you. And then the lower back section, you can see the hooks there at the top. It just pulls down and out. There are no fixings for that. So I'm going to find a suitable place to wrap that cable. I will probably pull this up and tuck the cable inside. There's quite a large cavity inside there, so when you pull this out the way, you can get it right in there. Then going to the front of the car, just underneath the steering wheel, where you've got things like if you have lift, park brake. I've already drilled my hole. Put my round button right into there. So now I've got that cable in, tied and tucked in. And by removing the door seal, you can see the size of the cavity in there. It's huge, plenty of space, and this just pushes back, which allows you to tuck the cable right in. So it's, you know, it's not right underneath the seal, it's right inside that cavity, this nice big deep cavity. Follows all into there, up along the side, up in and around the fuse box. Now if you remember, on the center position of the switch I had to find a common, an earth, so I picked that up in there and then mounted the switch. So not my best leather cutting work, hence why I put this right underneath. And you know, I've got a very bright light on it, so normally, I mean, it's right out of view. The idea is I can be sitting in the car, I can reach underneath. The center is the normal position. Left, number 1. So 1 is less, 2 is more, basically. So center is car control, always closed, always open. Perfect. Wonderful. All right, put all the car back together now, and might go take it for a little test drive. So that's car control, ECU control, always closed, always open. Hopefully you can hear the difference. Excellent. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks guys for watching.